Welcome to Midway Minute, everybody. I'm Scott Koral. He is Kevin Kaduk. And the NFL released its schedule, which means that the Bears also have released their schedule. And that means they have a path to the Super Bowl in 2021.
20-0, baby.
First 20-0
team. First 20-0 team ever. The first chance that a team ever has to go 20-0, the Bears are going to do it, right?
That is a definite possibility. There's a lot of things in play here. And, obviously what the Bears are going to do each game, who's still going to be coming in and out of the Bears, who's going to be coming in and out of other teams. But it all starts with week one, and that's Matthew Stafford and the LA Rams. So for the second straight year, the Bears start with Matthew Stafford. Your thoughts?
So Scott, are we gonna go game by game and offer our picks? Is that what you're thinking about doing here?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Actually, we should do that.
I think that's a good thing. To me, it was really hard to sit down with this schedule and really kind of come up with a good feel of what the season is going to look like from a win-loss record, because I feel like there's just so many unknowns. Obviously, the biggest unknown is at quarterback with the Bears, when Justin Fields comes in, when Andy Dalton goes out, if that even happens. But also when you throw in, okay, what's the quarterback situation in Green Bay going to look like? It's a lot harder to pencil the Bears down for their usual two losses against Green Bay, when you don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to be there or not. Seems like he's not going to be there, but who knows? But yeah, you're right. The LA Rams, for the fourth year in a row, the Bears are playing them in prime time, which to me was a little surprising because that is a matchup that has really not produced a lot of fireworks in those primetime games. The previous three games, there's only been 7 total offensive touchdowns. All those games have actually kind of been duds, even the 2018 game here in Soldier Field. But I think obviously market size played a big role in this. And then the possibility that Justin Fields could be starting on the road at SoFi Stadium against one of the, I think it's kind of fair to call the Rams a glamour team of the NFC right now. But yeah, it's obviously a tough test for any quarterback to go in there on Sunday Night Football and try to walk away with that win. I penciled that one down for a loss.
I would likely say the same thing, but I mean, there are some positives though for the Bears. James Daniels will be coming back, and when he played against Aaron Donald last year, he actually played pretty well against Donald. So I mean, there are some positives that the Bears can take, but that defense by the Rams, Jalen Ramsey, obviously tough, Donald, because he's not always going to line up against James Daniels. That's a tough defense to go up against. And does Andy Dalton, does he give you the confidence that you can go out and beat that team?
No. I mean, obviously he does it, right. And the Rams are a team that, they kind of regressed since their Super Bowl trip, and they're kind of in a spot where the Bears were in 2019, where they're really cashing in and going for it and making the trades. And they've obviously leveraged a lot of their future draft capital for a chance, bringing in Matthew Stafford. So yeah, I think that there's no way the Bears walk out of there with a victory. Now going to week 2, they come home. Soldier Field's going to probably be packed against the Bengals. Joe Burrow's probably going to be back. What do you like from this game?
It's the Andy Dalton revenge game. I mean, seriously, how can you go wrong with the Andy Dalton revenge game? The Bengals have upgraded their offensive line, which has been their Achilles heel for about 5 years now. That's going to be a big help to them. Burrow being back, they now have a pretty decent wide receiver core. I mean, you can't go wrong, like Jamar Chase and AJ Green coming back healthy. They're not bad. But is the defense going to hold up? And at that point is, Dalton's going to want to have a good game against his former team. Not only that, but you're also talking about your first home game. There's going to be a lot of amped up people on the Bears sideline. Matt Nagy, hopefully he doesn't get out of get in his own way. There's going to be, I think, a different atmosphere at Soldier Field. I would like to say that the Bears can win that one. I don't know if they will, but I'd like to think that the Bears can win that one.
So I hope you're keeping this. You're writing your picks down as we go along, because we're gonna compare this at the end. I am absolutely holding you to this. Come January 9th, we're gonna see who comes a little bit closer. So I have them penciled down for a win, but I think this is really going to be a barometer for where the Bears and what they can be this season, because so much of this comes down to Matt Nagy and whether or not he can design an offense, no matter who's under center, to really kind of keep pace. The Bengals were, not a terrible team when Burrow was healthy last year. They were able to score points. They were able to stay in ball games. They didn't win a lot, but Burrow showed you something. And this kind of almost seems to me like I don't want to say a referendum, but again, a barometer. Can Nagy move the football against an improved defensive team? And more importantly, can Sean Desai, the Bears' new defensive coordinator, really design something to stop? Everyone's ever saw the Bears defense, having a good defense seems like such a given from year to year. I don't think it's a given for 2021. They had a lot of bright spots in 2020, but they also had a lot of downsides too. So looking at week 2, I'm really going to be interested to see how they come against Cincinnati. Let's move on to week 3. Usually in the 20 previous years, you'd say, oh, great, let's mark down a
The
W
Brownies
against
are
the
coming.
Cleveland Browns. Not so this year.
No, and Baker Mayfield was one of the best deep ball throwers in all of football last year. I believe he was one of top 3 at worst. Let's face it, Baker Mayfield is a pretty good quarterback. I thought he deserved to be the number 1 overall pick when he was drafted, and he has now officially lived up to it. He's good. And that Browns defense is no joke either. So you're going into the dog pound. That's going to be tough. I got to go with no. Sorry, guys. Hell.
I've got the L2. That could be a big weekend for Chicago and Cleveland. The White Sox are there for a weekend series when they could be wrapping up the AL Central, or at that point it could already be wrapped up. Who knows? Week 4. Now this is the game that you always pencil in as a W. Well, it didn't work out last year that way, as we all remember that the Lions came back in dramatic fashion to steal that victory away from the Bears. That one still hurt. I still have it marked down as a W, because if you can't mark down a game against the Lions, Jared Goff, that's a Lions team that's still playing a couple years out. So I'll go with the victory. Do you need to question me anything more than that?
No, I think the only question that I see is really if the Bears don't win this game. I think the Bears should win it, but if the Bears don't win against Detroit in week 4, we can, safely, let's say we're both 2-2 here, but if the Bears are 1-3 at that point, or 0-4, do you just go ahead on October 10th and start Justin Fields against the Raiders?
So I wrote in Thursday morning's Midway Minute that I really thought that we're going to see Justin Fields in week 4. To me, it seems the most logical. Week 1, I think, seems like a little bit of a stretch. I think they're going to give Dalton, but after a 1-2 start, I don't know. And if you don't, here's the thing: if you don't start Justin Fields in week 4, like, when do you start him? Because we've already seen with the schedule, it's got the weird alternating home and away, home and away, home and away. It goes that way the entire time. There's no comfortable place. Okay, we'll start him, at the beginning of a homestand or a 4 and 6 games, home game stretch. That doesn't exist. So if you don't start him here against the Lions, which is as soft as an opening as you can get, you're going to start him on the road in Vegas? No. Against the Packers? Probably not. On the road against the Super Bowl champions? No. So if it's not here, I think then you're pushing it all the way back until after the bye.
And that's quite a possibility. I will say this. You mentioned the home away alternating schedule.
Yeah.
This is the first time in the Bears' 102-year history that they haven't had either 2 back-to-back home games or 2 back-to-back away games. This is kind of a shock. It was weird looking at the schedule and going, huh. Even my wife, came to me was just like, has that ever happened before? I was like, I'm not sure if any
Yeah.
team has ever
Kyle,
happened.
Kyle Brandt from NFL Network actually tweeted that it's happened recently with like 3 different teams. And you can find the tweet and put it up in post-production here. But all 3 teams made the playoffs.
Well, there you go. And maybe that's why Kyle Brandt did that was I want this team to make the playoffs. But we haven't gone on and said anything about the Raiders game. This is going to be a revenge game for Khalil Mack, for Matt Nagy, for the way that the Raiders treated them in London. Yeah. There's a lot riding on the Bears here. And I also think that it may also be who's riding at quarterback and who's riding at tackle. I think Tevin Jenkins is going to start on the left side, but Jermaine Ifedi, I think, is probably going to start on the right side. And the Raiders have 2 good pass rushers. They're no joke. I don't know. This is one where I think I might have to put up an L. Okay. So you mentioned that game in 2019. That was really kind of the first signs of trouble for the Nagy Pace era. I mean, we had over there. Things were going pretty well. I think, they started off, what was it, 3-1 maybe, or 2-2? I can't remember. They went over there, had a bad thing, and it was kind of, I don't want to say the beginning of the end, but that was just like, Danger Will Robinson going on over there. Right. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of Bears fans are going to be out there. It's already hard to get an affordable flight or affordable ticket. So I think that you might have a little bit of a home atmosphere. I do have them. I can't remember if I put what I did in this morning's newsletter. To me, I think that they probably. This is so hard, right? Because you just don't know, and the Raiders have been a middling team here and there. I'll pencil them down for a win just because I'm feeling optimistic today. All right, so I'm being the pessimistic one as usual. Mitch Trubisky isn't anywhere here, and Scott's being pessimistic anyway. Yeah, but it's not like. Here's the thing: it's not being pessimistic because I don't think the Bears can win, but I also think you also have to look at who's going to be the quarterback. I think Fields will, no matter what. Fields' first start is going to be a loss. I'm just going to throw it up there. Peyton Manning lost in his first start. I don't care. He became a Hall of Famer. So I don't necessarily mind if Fields goes out a loser in his first start, but I'm just not sure how far Dalton can take you. And we've seen reports that Nagy thinks that Dalton can lead this team to a 10-win season. Yeah. I'm just not sure if I'm that optimistic. I think it's hard. I think it's hard looking at the schedule and picking out 10 wins. Yeah, I did pick the Raiders I did pick the Raiders as a win in this morning's newsletter. So let's ride with that, Scott. All right, fair enough. You're 3-2. I'm 2-3. All right. Packers at home, October 17th. Again, how do you know? All right, if Rodgers is there, they win. The Packers win. If Rodgers is not, the Bears win. How about that? Yeah, because here's the thing: if the Packers, let's say the Packers don't have Rodgers, I'm just gonna let's say Rodgers gets hurt earlier in the year because that happens. We all remember Shea McClellan. Let's just start there. But let's say Rodgers either gets hurt or says I'm done. Mm-hmm. I don't trust Blake Bortles to do much more than what Trubisky did much of last year. Throw short and just hope. So I can say that if Rodgers is there, which I think is going to be likely, the Packers should win. And if he is not, the Bears should rout him. Okay. So we're just doing we're doing what ifs against specs. Yeah. We're doing what ifs. It's hard. So the schedule comes out, everyone's got their content geared up for it. Everyone wants to make predictions, but to me, it was easy to do last year, the year before. This year, it's just there's not a lot of point now. If you ask me to do this in August, I'll probably feel a little bit better, but here on May 15th, I just don't feel great about it. Let's move on to the following Sunday. They'll be probably playing in the late spot against the Buccaneers in a nationally televised game. It's probably going to be Super Game Bowl of the champions. Week. I would just ask that Tampa Bay come into this game as hurt as they were for last year's game against Soldier Field.
in Soldier Field.
Do you remember this?
Yeah.
we need to bring that back.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure if Brady's going to have a fourth down meltdown like he did last year against the Bears. But the Bears did beat him with Nick Foles at quarterback last year.
Right.
Is Dalton better than Foles? I believe he is. But is Brady in the second year of the Bruce Arians offense going to be better than he was this past year? Probably. And the Bears don't have Kyle Fuller. And granted, they also don't have Chuck Pagano. So, I mean, there's going to be, you know, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say the Bears are gonna shock the world.
Wow.
Bears are gonna shock the world and beat the Buccaneers. Now, granted, the next week against the 49ers, and that's at home, it's going to depend upon who's quarterbacking. Because I'm going to go with, I will say this. Everybody is looking at Kyle Shanahan as being like the Sean McVay of yesteryear. Oh, he's this kind of great coach, that kind of great. You know, Kyle Shanahan, you look at his win-loss record, not all that good.
No.
So let's start there. Maybe he's not quite the coach that everybody believes he is. But I'm going to say this. I think if Justin Fields is already starting by then, this is a win. I think he'll beat the 49ers. I think he can beat the Buccaneers. I think it's going to be a very different kind of team once Justin Fields gets in there. Running lanes are going to open up because Justin Fields can run too. You have to be aware of what Fields can do. Dalton is going to sit in the pocket. He might pick you apart, but he's much better throwing the deep ball than he is throwing the short ball.
Yeah.
And Nagy's offense is a lot of intermediate passing.
Here's what worries me, Scott. We talked about going into last season. You know, they brought in, it was a competition between Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles. Those guys are not similar. They are not similar quarterbacks. They're not, you know, they were not going to, they were never going to run the same offense. They were never going to be successful the same way that the other might be. Same thing applies to Andy Dalton and Justin Fields. So how is Matt Nagy really going to game plan and go into a season when you've got a guy who's basically every other quarterback the Bears have had more or less for the last 40 years, and against someone as dynamic and can work with his legs as Justin Fields? So if you're a person that really wants to put money on Justin Fields starting week one, which I'm probably sure you can do out there, that might be something to take into consideration, because why would you even waste time rolling out an unimaginative offense and really doing the things that you have to do to make Andy Dalton successful? Like, that doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. And I'd like to, one thing I had mentioned out there, I believe this might have been Tuesday. I had said that maybe the best in the best interest of the Bears should do with Justin Fields what the Giants did with Daniel Jones. Put him in a couple series in that first game, second game.
See what happens.
Let him do it. Now, granted, Jones was starting by that third game of his rookie season in 2019. And, Eli Manning had just basically, that was it for him.
Right.
But I think give Fields a chance. No real pressure. Just let him go in there. Let him just see what the speed of the game truly is. That's not preseason, because preseason we all lay back and we all just eat some hot dogs and grill out, and we're not necessarily watching the games. We're just chilling, doing our thing. And then, if the Bears score a touchdown, then we're just like, oh man, I missed it. Let me see the replay. That's really all we do in the preseason. So I think you need to give him some real live game action, game by game.
It's going to be nice that he's going to get that. The thing that's kind of interesting to me is that obviously you have a track record with Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, guys that were given time on the sidelines to figure things out, get used to the speed of the game, really before things were handed over to them. But then you also have guys like Justin Herbert or Kyler Murray who put on the big boy pants right away and produced. It's like, where do you find that happy medium? I don't know.
No, that's why I think just give him a little bit of time, let him see the game action, and then unleash him.
Okay. So you have the Bucs as a win and the Niners as a loss.
Yeah, unless Justin
Okay.
Fields is out there already. So
So
I'm going to say that Justin Fields is going to
flip-flop
be
the
there in
other
the
way.
bye.
Yeah. You're gonna have to like stake out some ground here, Scott. Okay, like you're gonna have to put down an L or a W. This is how it works.
All right, so I'm going to put down an L because I honestly I think that probably by the bye Nagy's going to be like, I'm done, and let's just go with Fields and just do it that way. So
Okay.
I have them at 3-5 after 8 games.
So after the Niners, they play. It's not the bye right after the Niners. They play the Steelers at Monday night, and that kind of almost sticks out as the Bears crap your pants on national TV, and everyone's pissed off the next morning kind of game, right?
And Dalton's never been good against the Steelers. He just hasn't. Now the Steelers do have their secondary is not all that good, but you love Minkah Fitzpatrick and you love Joe Hayden. Outside of that, there's a lot to be desired.
So I've got the Bears at 4-5 going into that bye week, and I think that's probably pretty optimistic. Sitting right here, I would take 4-5.
I think I would too, but I think that the Steelers are going to win that one. I think the Bears are going to do everything possible to give them a reason to start Justin Fields after the bye. I have the Bears
down for a loss in that game.
Okay, so I've got them at 3-6, and you've got them at 4-5.
Okay.
And then they hit the bye, and then you got some winnable games after that. Not a lot,
for sure.
But you've got some.
Yeah, if we are robbed of Lamar Jackson versus Justin Fields, I'm going to be kind of ticked. Like that needs to happen, I think.
That would be a very interesting game, both defensively for the Bears and offensively, especially if Justin Fields is out there. Now, granted, if we're all wrong and Dalton ends up being a great quarterback, and that's going to be very tough to have us go, well, I mean, I'd rather be wrong and have them win than be right and knowing that Justin Fields is going to be out there in basically what's going to end up being a losing cause. I would much rather have Dalton be successful.
Yeah.
That way they can ease Fields in.
This is probably the game that I'm looking forward to the most. I mean, at that point, they could be 2-7. I could be checked out, but I just think of what challenges Lamar Jackson presents for Sean Desai and that defense, and whether or not they're up to that. I think that's interesting. And then again, if we're bringing Justin Fields, our young stud, the guy that can run, the guy that can extend the game. That's a lot of fun. And so if we could use that as a measuring stick on where the Bears are, and if the Bears can be a real 21st century offense with a quarterback like that, like, to me, that's exciting.
Yeah, I would love, I mean, obviously we're all going to watch that game. It's too bad though that kind of a game with Lamar Jackson and the possibility that Justin Fields might start is a noon Sunday game and not like a 3:25 game of the week.
They can't be on prime time. Come on now.
No, but I'm saying like even a game of the week where it's going to be on in 75% of the country. That would be tremendous. But
it does seem like a little bit of a Monday Night Football type matchup, but I don't know how much of an audience Baltimore actually brings. So
yeah, but there's a lot of Ravens fans, especially if you watched their scheduled release cameo.
That was awesome.
That was very good. Baltimore, I'll give them credit. They won the internet off of that one, as you mentioned in the newsletter. That was tremendous.
I have the Ravens penciled in for the win, so Bears lost in that one, so that would drop them to 4-6. Afterwards, they get a little bit right. They go into Detroit again. That's a tough one. I mean, they could have easily been 0-2 against Detroit last year, so I shouldn't feel that confident. But I've got that penciled down as a win.
I mean, it is Jared Goff. I know it's going to be at Detroit, but it is Jared Goff. And, at least with that, it's a Thanksgiving game. It'll be the third time in 4 years that the Bears have been playing on Thanksgiving, and I believe the fourth time in 6 years.
Do you like the Thanksgiving games?
Like, I don't mind the Thanksgiving game. Like, I think it's great for the NFL. It's great for fans. I don't mind watching.
Do you like the Bears playing on Thanksgiving? I should say.
I think they should. I think every team that plays on Thanksgiving, outside of the Cowboys, the Bears, or the Cowboys, the Lions, and what seems to now be the Saints for the third straight time, they're on Thanksgiving. I I would say everybody else deserves a 4-year reprieve from ever being on a Thanksgiving game.
I like it. I like it when it's the early one. I don't really like when they're playing against the Cowboys. I'm not even sure if that's happened anywhere near recently. But so because the Lions is a winnable game, and it definitely proves your Thanksgiving having a Bears victory in your pocket. Also gives Matt Nagy a lot of time to get ready for the Cardinals, but he hasn't been great with with time. So. So do you have the Bears winning on Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I do. I think
Okay.
Jared Goff is not going to do all that well.
Okay. So they'll be going into that game against the Cardinals with a shot to get back to 500, at least for me. Kyler Murray, Cardinals might be angry they missed the playoffs last year at the expense of the Bears. That'd be another fun thing to see, Fields against Murray. I have that down for a victory.
I have that down as a loss. JJ Watt, he's going to be coming, and let's just.
Yeah, they're going to load him down. They're going to load him down with Portillo's and Malnati's. Will be fine.
You're a Wisconsin product.
Yeah.
You went to UW, Camp Randall. JJ Watt is coming. There's a part of me that thinks that I truly believe that he wanted the Bears to come with what hope, at least an offer. I don't know if it was going to be as good as the Cardinals. I mean, the Cardinals gave him, I think it was $9 million with another $8 million guarantee. So I think he's making $17 million this year. That's pretty nice. The Bears were never going to be able to come with that kind of offer. If you can't afford Kyle Fuller at $8 or $9 million, you definitely weren't going to get JJ Watt.
Yeah, for sure.
I do think that he would have wanted to be in Chicago because he loves the Edens Expressway so much, and he loves Portillo's, and his wife plays here for the Red Stars. But that didn't happen. I just think that Kyler Murray is going to be a little bit too much for this, and the Bears are going to be playing out the string.
Well, I mean, it could be bad weather, so you never know.
True.
Next week is at the Packers, that Sunday night game. That's just, a loss because they're always kind of destined to embarrass in those games. It would have been kind of funny had Watt signed with his home state Packers, got up there, and then Rodgers left.
Right? That would have been tremendous. I've been to Lambeau. And I've been there working for Fox as a runner and as a PA and stuff like that. There is a nice mystique to it. But when you go down on the lower concourse and you're in the bowels of the stadium, it's kind of an ugly place. I don't know if it's as ugly as Soldier Field or if it's uglier than Soldier Field. It's definitely better lit than Soldier Field's inner bowels.
Yeah, they've renovated it pretty nicely and done a good job with what it was basically just a kind of big aluminum bowl. So I'll give them points for that. After that, at home against the Vikings, I think on December 19th, I think I have that one down as a win. They'll probably win against the Vikings here, lose there. So I've got them just kind of alternating wins here, really. How this works out, kind of.
Yeah, I mean
7-7.
It's still Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said for just being Kirk Cousins.
I love the fact that the Vikings were really hot on Justin Fields, thought there was a chance they could get him, and the Bears swooped in. Please let that be something that's really that will be able to hold over their heads for the next 20 years, right?
I mean, it would be nice if Justin Fields plays that game and throws 4 TDs, and that would be the end. And then we can go, all right, so, congratulations. Yeah. We have Allen Robinson. You supposedly have 2 of the greatest wide receivers in the game right now, and Thielen and Justin Jefferson, and we got A-Rob and Darnell Mooney. They don't have the name recognition, and we still whooped your booty.
Who is Kirk Cousins like? Who would you compare him to in NFL history? It's just I don't want to even say he's had his moments, but he's been good enough to make a lot of money in this league and start a lot of games in this league. Even some playoff games. But I don't.
In NFL history, because I think the big thing is getting a lot of money for not a whole heck of a lot of
Right.
wins. And that's tough because then you're generally thinking about like, well, maybe Cam Newton. I mean,
Cam won an MVP.
He did. I mean,
Cam was at the top. Kirk Cousins was never a top 5 quarterback or anywhere close.
No, but Cam's made his money, and not a whole.
Now Cousins, you can make the case that he's been in the top 15, which is for a long time, which is not nothing.
Sure.
If you put Kirk Cousins on the 2018 Bears, what happens?
I would say the Bears would have won more than 12 games.
Would they have won the Super Bowl?
It's still Kirk Cousins, so no. And then we would all go, you like that? You like that? Yeah. Yeah, you like that.
Right. All right. Day after Christmas, they're at the Seahawks. I wrote in the newsletter that is probably the one road trip I'd love to take if it didn't happen the day after the holiday, because Lumen Field, as it's called right now, is just like an unbelievable atmosphere. I don't know what the Bears did to deserve that, but it's a tough place to play. The NFC West is going to be pretty competitive. They'll be going against Russell Wilson, who at one point we really wanted in a Bears uniform. It didn't work out. I've got that penciled in as a loss to fall to 7-8.
Yeah, I would say a loss too. And just as you mentioned, tickets. A friend of mine who lives out in Spokane invited me today. Like earlier, he said, "Come on out, man. It'll be great. We'll go. We'll go do something. Maybe outside the stadium."
Yeah.
And I know what he was talking about, because he said that tickets at this point, one of the lowest tickets for just that game, $556 a ticket.
Wow. Well, I mean, look, no one is no one's giving away their tickets for $120 now, right? So those prices might come down. You never know.
Yeah, let's hope that Russell Wilson gets hurt, so that way we can go get $30 tickets and we'll go there together.
Final home game of the season, January 2nd, against the New York Giants. Last year, they played in the second game of the season at Soldier Field, and the Bears barely eked out a victory. I have this as a W, but I think it's going to be a little bit tougher. Saquon Barkley should probably be back and healthy. They've got a really improved defense, and they seem to be like the team that everyone is kind of picking to make the jump. I think they won 6 games last year, which was good enough for second place in the NFC East. But I think everyone's kind of maybe picking them to make that jump to maybe double digits.
People forget Saquon Barkley got hurt against the Bears. He was healthy for that game, and he got hurt.
I bet the under on the rushing yards, and felt oddly conflicted when he went down because it won me money.
Look, hey, you know what's king, called cash. Right. So I'm not worried.
Yeah.
I do think it's going to be a tough road for the Bears in that one. Daniel Jones is playing better. Hopefully he doesn't trip on his way to, walking out on the field as he did on that one run. I believe it was against the Eagles when he almost fell with nobody in his way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I that's a game that the Bears could easily win. It's a game that the Bears could easily lose. Health is going to be an issue.
There's a lot at stake for the Giants in this game, because not only could they be going for a playoff spot, dealing the Bears another loss improves their draft position, which that pick is going to the Giants next year.
That is very true. So yes, there is a lot to be riding on the Giants there for, but
I have it as a win for the Bears, really based on nothing. Now that I actually talked about it, it should probably be a loss, but I wrote in the newsletter that it was a win. It's probably an optimistic homer thing, but whatever. It's May 15th, 8-8. They finish off at the Vikings on January 9th, which is kind of insane to think that the season is ending on January 9th. There was a Super Bowl played on January 9th, Super Bowl 11. But now, that's a thing of the past. Now we're going well into February with the Super Bowl. I have the Bears down for a season-ending loss.
I don't know. I think the Bears are going to they're going to want some kind of positive to play for. And I think this is going to end up, to me, being a win for the Bears.
Okay.
Now the question becomes, I think they're going to end up being probably 6-10. Okay. Is that enough to save anybody's job? No. And I feel bad because I think Nagy would love to get the chance to work with Justin Fields more than a year. But I do think in the middle of all this, they screwed this up royally.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think this season so comes down to the coaching, because you have pieces at some places, and then you have a lot of other places where you have to cover for. And to me, that comes down to coaching. Can you really mask your deficiencies? That's where coaching comes in the NFL. So again, can Matt Nagy coach up the offense? He's the offensive whiz. If we don't see any signs, then yeah, he's gone. Now, if you do see signs with Justin Fields and he's brought in, I think he comes back. I don't think this is a sort of, I don't know. I don't think this is a sort of year that is going to go completely off the rails. I don't think it's obviously going to be a success. I just think it's just a big kind of middling thing. And I think that offense is going to put up some points. I think offense might win some games. The defense might win some games. And I think the converse will be true as well. So.
Yeah, this is just going to be a tough year. I think either way, whether Nagy comes back or not, I do think that this is it for Ryan Pace. I don't think there's going to be any question that Pace is done after this.
See, that surprises me, Scott, because I feel like this draft, I feel like he's actually won some credit with the fan base, and more importantly, he already had the credit with the McCaskey family. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Here's the thing. You've been 8-8 for 2 seasons, and the one thing that McCaskey wants is improvement.
But he drafted himself time, Scott. I mean, that's to me that's pretty clear.
Did he though? If you have a 6-10, you have a 6-10 season this year, or 5-11, 7-9, you're still worse than you were with Trubisky.
He just missed out on Patrick Mahomes, a generational quarterback, and didn't lose his job for that. He's not going to lose his job over and by the way, you said 6-10. You got to start remembering, you got to start adding up to 17. It's 17 games now, Scott. I made the mistake last video.
Right. 6-11, 5-12. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
You get so used to that 16 game schedule.
It's crazy.
It was so nice. It was so
from
nice.
From a person who still refers to the Houston Astros as a National League team, which hasn't been the case for 8 or 9 years now. This is going to take me a long time to get used to.
I honestly hope every team has a tie.
Okay.
I think every team needs to have a tie so we can all have those 8-8 teams that we always love to have.
The Jeff Fisher Memorial Trophy, even though he's not dead. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let's wrap it here. If you've lasted this long, you probably already subscribed to Midway Minute, but if you really like what Scott and I bring here, you're going to love our newsletter. Sign up for that at midwayminute.win. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on our videos here, because we bring this football talk to you all season long, and it's going to be a great season. Regardless of what happens, I think it's going to be an interesting season. We're going to be tuned in from week to week. So thanks for joining us, Scott. Good luck on your predictions, and we'll see how I do on my prediction of 8-9, which adds up to 17.